Hello, so I'm here with Andrew Heaven from Wealth Partners, who's been associated with AMP and in the industry for many, many years. So thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure, Lex. Thanks for the opportunity.
And you've come across into our new building, so it's great to have you here.
Well, it's fantastic. I can't believe this. What a change has happened at 50 Bridge Street.
Yeah.
Big change from the old days of CQ.
Before I ask you some hard-hitting questions, tell us a bit about your practice.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I've been in practice more years than some of your staff have been alive. So I've been a practitioner for 32 years. Myself and my former business partner, we established Wealth Partners in the year 2000 and have grown the team both onshore and offshore. And we now work in North Sydney and grown the business to managing about $700 million on behalf of our clients.
Oh, wow. And what's your typical client look like?
It's a pretty broad church. Given the background of our business, it's everything from individual mums and dads to intergenerational advice, to executives from public companies, etc., through to entrepreneurs. Essentially, the reason clients engage with us is that they have a need, they've got complex needs and they need advice.
We're in interesting times when it comes to advice. Probably been in interesting times for a little while now.
Indeed.
The Quality of Advice Review, at least some initial commentary came out. What do you think about that and what's your hopes for the future?
Yeah, so as someone who's been in the industry for the period of time I have, I'm really passionate about advice, and one of my great challenges has been the challenge that we've all faced as advisors in delivering on a promise to clients around the quality of what we do. I read Michelle Levy's commentary. One of the challenges is we've got principles-based legislation, but we've got prescriptive enforcement, and it doesn't add to the client experience. But what I loved about it was that the focus was actually on what is good advice and improving it for the client, which I thought was terrific.
Yeah, I think many of us liked that because there has been a lot of regulatory overload, and I think we all recognise that now. So to actually get back to the core of what you do and what the customer wants, I think is a great thing.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that advice itself has been a fairly truncated experience for a client. At the end of the day, a client comes to see you because they're either looking for an opportunity, they have a problem, or they've come to a life event. And they don't actually understand what the advice process is all about. So we're coming to them from a position of knowledge and understanding, but the challenge in the industry is actually conveying that to the client and making it a great experience.
Yeah. And I think, when we looked at our recent research in the financial wellness report, it was saying that people didn't know what to expect about advice when they actually went to see a financial advisor. It was a really good experience for them and something they valued. How do you get people to see financial advisors and understand that they might need some help in this area?
Yeah, so various industry associations have looked at the relationship that advisors have with their clients, and the fundamental view is that where a client has an engaged advisor, there is a high trust equation, so that there's a high level of trust and the engagement piece is really strong. The problem is getting people to actually engage in that advice process, and that's been the challenge because the client doesn't understand what advice is, and the industry's done a really poor job of it too. So for our perspective, our advice or our commodity that we're working with is our strategic advice and recommendation to a client. It's not product advice, notwithstanding the fact that the legislation is enshrined in that way. But the client doesn't really care. At the end of the day, they're coming to see you because they have a life event, they have a goal, or they have a problem. And our job as an advisor is to fix it for them.
Yeah, and I think that's right. It's a really trusted relationship, isn't it?
Indeed, and the thing is that for a client who hasn't, or a prospective client who's never actually engaged in the advice process, they don't actually understand what the process is because they might have had a legacy experience of what the industry used to be like, but it doesn't reflect on what it is now. So a lot of the time we're breaking down those blocks of misunderstanding or prejudice to actually break it down to what the core essence is, which is delivering on the client's needs, goals and objectives.
And so what is your hope for the industry going forward? You talked a bit about regulation, but what are the other hopes you have?
Notwithstanding Quality of Advice Review, which is only one part of a very long journey around this, I just hope that the industry itself actually reflects on where we've been, but also holds the client experience or the client as the centre of what we do going forward.
Yeah.
It's so important because we're here to serve them and we're here to deliver on that promise. So whether we're talking about who's providing the advice, for want of a better word, I really don't care. At the end of the day, I just want to make sure that we have a trusted relationship with our clients, that we are a profession, that we are valued for what we do, and we receive fair remuneration for it.
I think they're beautiful words to my ears. Tell me what the best piece of advice you've ever got. Financial advice. You don't have to tell me about other advice.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to be. You said one. I'm actually going to be a bit greedy, and there's a couple of things that, in my years of experience, that I've seen. It comes down to the fundamental core of what we do as advisors. So, in the first one is, I'm a big fan of what I call financial hygiene. Part of growing up, we always got told to wash our hands and brush our teeth. Mm. Well, my view in terms of financial literacy for all Australians is that they're in a position that they can actually understand the consequences of decisions that they make. So they don't have to be a subject expert, but they at least have to understand, in the event I make a decision, what are the consequences for me around it? The challenge we have in Australia is that we have a legislative environment where it's very much about individual self-empowerment. Now, that's my 3 a.m. moment for a lot of people who don't necessarily have the financial literacy. How on earth do we expect people to make a decision if they don't have the basic building blocks of financial literacy? So that's the first one. The second one is spend less than you earn.
I love that one. It's so simple, but a lot of people don't live by it.
Look, I have clients who are very financially successful in the context of high income earners, but they have problems around spending that is no different to everybody else in the market. So it's a simple comment, and some people get a little bit offended when you talk about it, spend less than you earn. But it's the basic reality. And it also comes to the next point, which is around respect money and respect what money does. But money is just a tool, okay? It's a tool to help you achieve what you want to do. And when a lot of the time we spend with clients, we're actually distilling this down to the fundamental purposes of why we do what we do. So what I mean around that is money is there as a tool to enable you to do stuff. You control it, it should not control you. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't be worrying about money. You shouldn't be having 3 a.m. moments about money. And my counsel to people is, if you're uncomfortable in your environment around your relationship with money, time to reflect on it and maybe get some advice around that. I mean, a financial advisor has an incredibly intimate relationship with the client because you sit on what I call their board of advice.
And you often have to do battles between partners and siblings.
Yes, absolutely. It's that whole EQ piece, I suppose. But it's coming from a good place. And what I mean by that, it's about trying to explore to make sure that we're all on the same page. So you'll talk to your accountant about your financial aspects, you'll talk to your solicitor around your legal aspects, and you'll talk to your doctor around your medical aspects. A financial advisor plays in all those spaces, but with a clear intent of trying to make sure that we're delivering to you what you're fundamentally trying to achieve.
I love that. Some great advice there. Thank you so much for spending time.
Pleasure, Lex, and thanks very much for the opportunity to come in.
Thank you.